We got Gators Breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC, and that is for sure. There's never a dull moment in Gator Nation, and it seems like there's never a dull moment in following Cormani McClain. Finally, a Florida Gator. Look, this is the episode we thought we'd be doing something a year and a half ago, right? We've been October of 2022. Complete surprise when, hey, look, it looks like he's trending Florida, and he commits to Miami, ends up at Colorado. But yeah, this was an episode we thought we were doing a long time ago, but let's wipe that all away. We will move on because now Cormani McClain is a Florida Gator, and like many of you feel, the way it should have been to begin with. So plenty to get into, plenty to discuss. We discussed a good bit of it on Sunday night in the Gators Breakdown Plus chat. You guys got a preview of that and every angle of, should Florida take Cormani McClain? Should he be a Gator? Should he not be a Gator? Every angle of that was explored. And of course, my thought on that was, of course, to me, yes, he absolutely deserves a second chance, deserves to be a Florida Gator if he wants to be. If he wants to handle the responsibilities the staff is going to put on him to, kind of erase everything that we have known about him up to this point and be the type of player, the type of person to fit into this culture Billy Napier is building at Florida. And look, you don't want to turn away many five-star talents. They don't all work out. Cormani McClain may not work out. Other five-stars that Florida may not get, or Florida may not work out. But you like to have that opportunity to have them on your roster, develop them, and be that high-level talent that they were once labeled in high school. So that's what you're getting here in Cormani McClain. We'll get into the 2023 DB room now for Florida. It was looking really good at one point. Even better now with the addition of that. We'll dive into that. We'll dive into this and other angles as well. But yes, I do think Florida should have pursued. Certainly glad he's in orange and blue now, or even the pictures in the black uniform that he was taking that we all saw on Tuesday. But on Wednesday is when he announces his commitment to the Florida Gators through the transfer portal, of course. So we'll get into a whole lot right here on this episode of Gators Breakdown. So hit that like button. I know you like the news right here. Many of you like the news. I know some of you were against this. And look, I don't blame you from some angles. I really don't. But in my angle, I have no issue with Billy Napier hitting the transfer portal here and getting a guy that really should have been in the class to begin with in that 2023 class. So, but yeah, hit that like button, like the news, like what we're doing right here on Gators Breakdown. Subscribe here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Get those notifications when there's a new episode of Gators Breakdown. And then, of course, Gators Breakdown Plus, hot. It's really, really hot right now with all the discussion going on around Cormani McClain. You get those extra episodes, those chat episodes, ad-free episodes. Ad-free episodes of Gators Breakdown if you're a Gators Breakdown Plus member on the podcast feed. No ads right there on that version. So we do Q&As, we do all that stuff. We'll be getting into giveaway stuff again soon as well. If you sign up for that top tier, a custom shout-out, if you're a Gators Breakdown Plus member already, and it's been a while since we did the custom shout-out, send them my way. You know how to send them to me, but really the big pull is that Discord server. You're getting that conversation going. But look, I get asked all the time, hey, Dave, how we can support you? Well, I've been doing it the month of May. I want to help you guys out too. But if you do want to support Gators Breakdown, 25% off at gatorsbreakdownmerch.com. A lot of new designs up there to kind of you guys take advantage of. You see some right here if you're watching the YouTube version, but gatorsbreakdownmerch.com, a couple designs. Even got the Beat Miami shirt up. We got the game time of that, 3:30 on August 31st. Also, Texas A&M has been announced as a 3:30 game. Georgia, of course, 3:30. All those games on ABC. But if you want to get started early with your Beat Miami love and get a good deal on the shirt at the same time, gatorsbreakdownmerch.com. Get your Beat Miami shirt, a new design also to go along with it right there. You'll see it on YouTube and a kind of a summertime design as well. Take advantage. Right now in the month of May, we're about halfway through gatorsbreakdownmerch.com. So, all right, let's go. We got to commit. And that's just the way to do it here when we got Cormani McClain joining this Gators football program. His official visit to Gainesville. Guess what? Decides to become a Gator. And, there was some talk of maybe Memphis, maybe UCF or USF, and ends up a Florida Gator. Second visit to Florida's campus, of course, visited and popped by last Friday for an unofficial visit, but had that official visit this week. Got to spend a good amount of time with Billy Napier and the staff and players. But, of course, it's been that journey that's been quite the saga for Cormani McClain. For most of the recruiting process, everyone thought he was going to pick Florida. Then the curveball on decision day and chooses Miami over Florida. Then, of course, interestingly, does not sign with the Hurricanes, goes with Dion and Colorado and spends a year there. His first season with the Buffaloes, he saw some action. Played in 9 games, starting 4 as a true freshman, 13 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss, deflected a couple of passes. But the twist here, and we discussed it, it's been out there, for Cormani McClain transferring to Florida, a preferred walk-on. The program maxed out scholarship capacity, but at the same time, just in the situation Cormani McClain has found himself in, and a lot of it's got to do with Florida's scholarship numbers, but also to earn the scholarship, and everything that that Dion said, and afterwards when Cormani left about maybe not showing up late for meetings, not giving his all in film study and all that. There's some maybe stigmas Cormani McClain has to shed before earning that scholarship to Florida. Maybe there's a lot to earn here at Florida. So getting that preferred walk-on status, some humility, I think, in this whole situation for Cormani McClain, his camp, and maybe coming to a place he should have been all along in this culture Billy Napier is trying to build. 6'2", says he weighs 165 pounds. Still got to get in that weight room, put some weight on him. But of course, initially, part of that class of 2023, and why this is still such big news. It's only 1 year removed from that class. The 24/7 Sports rankings, the On3 industry rankings in both services. He was the 13th overall player in the class of 2023 and the top ranked cornerback in the country in those composite rankings on both services. So in high school, a game changer. 30 interceptions in high school. His sophomore year alone, he had 10 interceptions. That was beating his own freshman record, by the way. By the time he was a senior, most players were kind of, quarterbacks avoiding him, not throwing his way. Still managed to get 2 interceptions. But his knack for getting the ball out of the air made a lot of colleges take notice, rightfully so. Very physically gifted, could play wide receiver as well. But does need to bulk up. But his height, length make the stature of him, that height, the length, the range. Defensive coordinators, cornerback coaches are going to love it. But use that to his advantage in high school, of course. And 6'4" wingspan of really, really stands out. So length, ball skills, attributes that stand out. And that stood out on his way to that 5-star ranking. So he got a unique ability to, hold his own in press man, keeping tight coverage down the field. Guys just can't really separate from him. And if they do, uses that size advantage that he has over most receivers as far as, his length goes, and still make a play on the ball. So, as I said, when you step up in competition to this SEC, certainly the physical part of it, getting some muscle to him, and he's keep his feet on the ground a bit, will go a long way in helping Cormani McClain. So, and I think has that advantage of being able to play wide receiver, but gets that wide receiver mindset when he's playing defense. Once that ball in the air, he's got as much right to it as that wide receiver, and that's how he plays the game. So anticipation skills, quick twitch. Had that confidence, that swagger in high school. Can he get it back? Did that take a hit a bit in his first season at Colorado? Certainly has room to grow. All this 5-star status and where he was ranked. Only 1 year removed from that. But once you get to the college level, of course, that doesn't mean as much now as well. With a year under his belt, so Can he live up to that billing? But of course, having that experience as a receiver, I think, comes into a long way as well, and maybe even helps him when he's looking at the opposing wide receiver and how to play a receiver, knowing that he's played that position as well. So, all in all, I think it's a smart move for Florida, and seeing you could unlock that potential to be that shutdown cornerback that we want him to be on this team in the SEC. Maybe not a rush to get on the field, but look, he did start 4 games last year as a true freshman. Has that talent profile to be in Florida's rotation, so we'll see if he can crack that. I said that in the last episode on him on Sunday in that chat. I mean, if he's on the field, he passed some good players for Florida's depth chart with Jason Marshall there, Devin Moore, Jakeem Jackson, D.D. Johnson, Grimsley coming in. I mean, there's a lot of guys he'd have to pass to get on the field, guys who took part in spring practice and have been on this roster for a few seasons now. So if he finds his way on the field, he went out there and earned it. So let's go back a bit to On3, their initial analysis, 24/7 Sports initial analysis, and why Cormani McClain was such a high-profile, talented recruit. On3 had to say, one of the tallest cornerbacks in the 2023 cycle who emerged as a top prospect at the position as an underclassman. Has a tall, thin build, measuring 6'2", 160 pounds. I mean, right now, says 165. So he hasn't gained much since his high school days, which, it wasn't that long ago, but still, you'd hope in a college weight room would be able to add more. So coming to Florida, of course, that will probably be one of the top priorities. On3 goes on to say, has good length with a 6'4" wingspan, tested as a plus athlete prior to his junior year, running a 4.58 second 40-yard dash, along with a 10.8 broad jump, emerged as a ball-hawking defender with 9 interceptions as a sophomore, 6 picks in his junior season, pairs his strong ball skills with ability to break on the ball quickly. Physical, chippy corner who plays with an edge. Shows good coverage instincts, makes plays as a freelancer. Best when making plays in front of him. Transferred high school as a senior, was not targeted often. Had ups and downs staying in phase with receivers on downfield routes and multiple neutral settings. Would need to continue improving his long speed and gaining mass and strength at the next level. 24/7 Sports' Andrew Ivins had to say, a new age cornerback prospect that has a chance to be a difference maker at football's highest level, given his rare blend of size, length, and speed. Started prep career off playing primarily wide receiver before being thrust into action on the defensive side of the ball. Excelled right away as a perimeter defender against the Sunshine State's competition, picking off 9 passes as a sophomore, 10 as a junior. I think that's how they got the numbers mixed up there. One of the services did. Still very raw from a technical standpoint, but is athletic enough to carry and cover most vertical routes. Leggy transitions aren't exactly ideal, but has a knack for putting himself in position to make a play at the catch point and can quickly close gaps with an elite burst. Has experience working in both man and off coverage, not one to shy away from contact, and is rather spirited as an open field tackler, but must improve in the boxing ring if he's going to settle in bump and run corner on Saturdays. Tested off the charts as an underclassman with the 4.5 40, 128-inch broad jump, 4.3 in a short shuttle. Will need to eventually add mass to his slender frame and continue to refine footwork technique once enrolled at the school of his choice, which is now Florida. But one of the highest ceilings in the entire class of 2023, given how he moves and covers for someone pushing 6'2". Must learn how to block out mistakes and find some inner confidence once adversity hits, but has the physical makeup of a potential impact player for a college football playoff contender in a possible early round NFL draft selection if he can keep progressing. Could experience some initial growing pains, but freakish traits are worth molding for the long haul. So given that last little bit there from Andrew Ivins, maybe why look, Colorado had to play him. I'm not sure if Florida's in a situation where they have to play him. He's, like I said, if he's on the field, he went out there and earned it. And part of this is, let's go back. We go back to the class of 2023, which we thought Cormani McClain was going to be a part of for so long. And we were looking at that class and putting together that class. And I think we knew that class of 2023, that defensive back class, oh man, this class has a chance to be really good. And it still was really good for Florida. This could have been even better originally with Cormani McClain. But let's go back and look at it. Cormani McClain was the number 1 cornerback in the class of 2023. So we go and look, and I went back and I put it on Twitter earlier today. Jakeem Jackson came in at the number 7 cornerback. So Florida, this is on the 24/7 Sports Composite, 2 top 7 cornerbacks from the class of 2023 are now on the roster. Dejon Johnson, who now plays corner, we knew coming out could play both, but he was the number 8 safety in the class of 2023. Jordan Castell, who played every game last year for the Gators, he was a 15th ranked safety. Add that to Aaron Gates, who was the 17th ranked athlete and who's going to play a lot of football for Florida this year. Sharif Denson, the number 25 cornerback, who's playing nickel for the Gators. Gates and Denson fighting really, really hard for that nickel spot. Bryce Thornton was the 38th ranked safety in the country. That's your class of 2023, who just added the top ranked cornerback. And that's why this is such a big deal. And we'll see. Maybe not all these guys turn out, but we saw enough of Jordan Castell to believe in what he can do. We're all excited about Jakeem Jackson. We saw some flashes of Sharif Denson and Bryce Thornton last year. Aaron Gates was somebody who was talked about all spring as somebody who's going to play a lot in this Florida defense. Dejon Johnson, we'll probably see a good bit more of him this year. That's a pretty good group. All that in one class. And then not forget, if we go to the class of 2024, and kind of a similar situation here, but Jameer Grimsley, of course, goes to Alabama. Nick Saban retired. You bring him in. He was the 164th overall player, but that was only good for the 22nd ranked cornerback. But 164 overall. So you add him to that mix, and there is your nucleus for your DB class in the coming years for Florida. Now, obviously, the transfer portal exists, and all these guys may not be Gators down the road. But as it looks right now, Jason Marshall would be gone next year. If Devin Moore has an outstanding year this year, if he can stay healthy, he may be on his way out. But if not, next year's group, if he's fully healthy and plays to his potential, will be led by him next year. But you got a Devin Moore and a Cormani McClain, a Jakeem Jackson, a Dejon Johnson there at corner, Jordan Castell, Bryce Thornton at safety, Aaron Gates, Sharif Denson, all those guys right there, your nucleus. I mean, Florida went through the transfer portal for safety in this 2024 class. A lot of those guys have been going. Your Asa Turners, your DJ Douglas, Triquez Bridges. We'll see there. I mean, Asa Turner for sure. With his years left, this is his last year of college football. I believe Triquez Bridges as well, if I remember right. But there's your nucleus in the coming years of your Florida defensive back group. So McClain is the 14th transfer for the class of 2024. We go to that list. Cormani McClain, the most recent one. Jason Zandamela, not long ago. Just mentioned Jameer Grimsley. Asa Turner there at safety. Grayson Howard at linebacker. But think about it, guys. Grayson Howard, Cormani McClain. 2 of the top targets in Florida's class of 2023 played for different schools last year. 1 year. Grayson Howard at South Carolina. Cormani McClain last year at Colorado. 2 of your top targets who, all right, you missed out on them the first time, circle back around, and are now in Gainesville. That is the new world of college football. Speaks a lot for Billy Napier to be able to go get guys like Cormani McClain and Grayson Howard, Jameer Grimsley in this class. DeAndre Robinson, even though he counts as a high school recruit, not a transfer. But to circle back around and get these guys in on that second chance. So it does say a lot. You missed out on to begin with. That does hurt. You like to have them in, and they develop with you for a year, and those guys were already in the program. But no harm, no foul. I'm glad they're Gators now. I'm glad they're in the orange and blue now. But it's our new world of college football. But it does speak a lot, I think, for those guys coming in. I mean, it's upgrading the talent level. One of the best linebackers in the country, Grayson Howard, now on your team. One of the best cornerbacks in the class of 2023, Cormani McClain, now on your team. Clay Millen, the transfer. George Gumbs Jr., DJ Douglas, Triquez Bridges, Devin Manuel, Chimray DK, Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, Joey Slackman, Kayla Rios. I mean, there's your transfers right now. Adding a number of transfers, and most of these transfers you're hoping are instant impact for Florida in 2024 with this tough schedule. And some of the experience Florida has, I mean, sprinkle it in with all the defensive talent that got experience last year, the young guys, and sprinkle in this transfer portal class and the experience they bring. I mean, I like the number of transfers Florida has. And maybe adding number 15 on Friday. Elijah Badger, it was announced here on this Wednesday, he's going to make his decision on Friday. And it is going to be between Florida, Arizona, and Washington, the 3 schools he's visited. I love Florida's chances right now as we sit here on this Wednesday. The physical was passed. That back injury was certainly a concern. But as it looks right now, Florida's in good shape when that announcement is made on Friday that Elijah Badger in the orange and blue. Hopefully it works out that way. Certainly a weapon Florida can use on the outside in the receiver room. But number 14 was Cormani McClain. And certainly glad it worked out where he's a Gator. Hopefully he does everything he needs to do to see himself on the field. I mean, summer workouts starting. You got to go through this process. Got to go through summer camp, fall camp. Got a lot of work to do on the field, off the field, to see the field for the Gators. Classroom, film work, culture, getting ingrained with the relationships in the locker room, ingrained with the relationships with your staff. But certainly, Billy Napier upgrading the talent level through the transfer portal. But if I go back to that class of 23, Grayson Howard, you guys know, personally for me, was the guy I wanted the most. Cormani McClain was up there as well, just because I think that the shockwaves, the narrative it would have sent out there for Billy Napier building that class of 23. And it would have, that class of 23 was something we were looking at because it was loaded in this state. And Cormani McClain was a big part of that. It was so loaded. And you had your guys like Grayson Howard. You had your guys like Cormani McClain, only to miss them. And those guys go elsewhere when look good for Florida, for both those guys at one point, more so for Cormani McClain. Grayson Howard committed to South Carolina earlier in the process. But I knew how hard it was for him to turn down Florida. Cormani McClain, it was trending. He's going to pick Florida. Going to pick Florida. Decision day. Going to pick Florida. May have started hearing some whispers about Miami, but you didn't really want to believe them because, guys, it was legit. Florida was in the lead for so long, only to see it come crashing down with a surprise announcement to Miami. Didn't end up at Miami, goes to Colorado. We know the story. We know why. We know NIL and the money chasing aspect. That's real. We're not going to shy away from that. But I think lessons learned, and this ends up the way it should have been in the first place. So, like I said, a lot of angles to look at this. I know we discussed it. If you guys missed it, certainly go back a couple episodes ago and listen to their chat of why Cormani McClain should be a Gator, why he shouldn't be a Gator, why should Billy Napier bring him in, why he shouldn't bring him in. And the angles we just discussed here on this episode of Gators Breakdown. But all in all, still upgrading the talent level. Now just got to unlock it. Have to unlock it. Got to live up to the potential. So there we go. Good stuff here. That'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I hope I'm back on with you Friday. I hope we're talking about Elijah Badger being a Florida Gator when it's all said and done. That would be transfer 15, and I'm certainly hope we're talking about it there on Friday. But that will do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me on this episode of Gators Breakdown.